Discover Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
Welcome to Stress-Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Ray Samich, and as you can see today, I have the special privilege of being joined in the same room with my longtime radio colleague and co-host, my spiritual brother, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
I'm excellent. We are together today, and for our audience that isn't aware, obviously for about the first 26 years of the show, we were together.
Yeah.
And whether it's at your studio in your home or the radio studio or on site, we did many shows out on sites, different events and things. But we're so glad that today we've been able to come together and actually talk with each other. So maybe it'll change the show a little bit. I don't know, because I can look into your eyes as opposed to just looking into a computer screen. But however that is, we welcome you, and we're grateful that you're a part of our program here today. Ratanjit, I was at an event recently, and there were people that came together from all across the country and even some foreign countries. And many of them had not seen each other for months, even years. And when we got together, everybody was just so glad to see people that they hadn't seen in such a long time. And I really thought about some of those relationships that weren't really major relationships. They weren't family. They weren't best of friends. They were just people that had gotten connected and then disconnected and then reconnected. And I thought about, what about all the millions of people that we never have that moment to connect with? And so we never know what that is. We never know their name. We never know anything about them. Are we still connected to them? What makes it, is it just destiny that we have our circle of friends and then we have our connections with a broader group of people? But the great majority of people in life, we never meet. We never know. Are we connected to them anyway? Should we care about them? Should we try to connect to them? It was just a question that I was thinking about when I saw these people getting together, and I wanted to run that by you and go from there with some other thoughts as well. But let's start with that.
Normally, there is something common. Random people, when they buy a Range Rover, they form a group.
Right.
They get together in the Range Rover.
Right.
People there are so many things which bring people together. It's your religion, it's your gender, it's your association, it's your profession,
sports, followers of sports,
and relationship. Your brother, and if you are somebody you never met, and a letter from the hospital comes that there was a twin brothers you had, and you got separated, and this is the address. So you go and see and hug him. You have never met him.
Wow.
So suddenly there's a connection.
Right.
So we are looking for that connection to connect with each other.
We kind of crave that, don't we?
Yeah.
We want to have that.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, like I said, is it a half of 1%? Is it 1/2 of 100% of the people that we actually do connect with? So is it just destiny? Is it random who we connect with and who we don't?
You can call it a destiny, but again, the reverse of that is two brothers we had a nasty election.
Right.
So supposing two brothers, one is supporting one group, another is supporting, they become enemies.
Exactly.
They don't see each other.
Right.
The connection is
Right.
So suddenly we are looking for something which unites us. And so, normally all these things are either uh, satisfying our ego, satisfying our taste, or satisfying our needs, satisfying those. So these are the reasons they are connecting to each other. If connected to somebody gives me pleasure,
right,
because I have the same Range Rover and he has the same Range Rover. We are getting together. So on this mission, we are very enjoying the commonalities. So what appeals to our five senses, they connect us.
I guess that's true, but there is something about the connection process that just seems to be right. It just seems to be comfortable for me to go into that environment and to meet up with people I look forward to. These are meetings that I have in our business on a regular basis. And I truly look forward to seeing people that I haven't seen for 6 months or a year. There's just a connection. I don't understand. I mean, it's not pleasing my five senses. It isn't pleasing my ego. I don't do it because of ego. I don't do it for greed. I don't do it for envy. None of those things that we usually talk about. I just genuinely enjoy connecting with these people. It just brings me joy. And it seems to bring them joy that we are seeing each other and having a chance to talk and shake hands or hug or just sit down together, even if we're not talking or anything. I mean, we're not praising each other. We're not doing things that are ego oriented. We're just, even if we just sit together over dinner.
Whenever anything is familiar to us, which is comfortable to me. So it's like when I go on a trip to Europe or somewhere, and ultimately after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I have a desire to come back.
Right.
So the same home, if I'm a poor guy, poor person, I have a very small home, that home gives me comfort.
Right. Right.
So similarly, many times when you see a stranger or not a stranger, somebody you meet him after 4 years or 10 years, suddenly that familiarity gives you comfort,
Yes.
right?
Very much so. Yeah.
So it is insecurity. Reverse of comfort is insecurity. So anything which makes us more secure, we gravitate towards that. So these are again five senses.
All right. I do. I can see how that is. The comfort level, when you're meeting strangers or when you're amongst strangers, then you're on guard. Then you can't be comfortable. It's just
Yeah.
the opposite
Yeah.
because you're worried about what I say and how I act and how I appear and what kind of person are they and all those kind of things. When you have that familiarity that you mentioned, you can let down the guards and you can just be yourself and just enjoy it. So I never really thought of that as being. I was hoping, quite honestly, that's part of the electric connection that we have just with our body waves and our energy is communicating in a positive way there. I didn't think it was because of our human senses.
You imagine in your town, you know somebody,
Okay.
but you don't get along well with him. He's not a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So supposing you go to this convention in Las Vegas. There are 100,000 people, and you literally don't know anybody.
Right.
And this person shows up.
Right.
You
I've been there. I know what you're talking about because that's happened to me.
go to hug
Right. It's somebody like an old friend.
old friend,
Right.
and you never get together. We never
Right. Yeah.
have
So
anything in common.
comparatively speaking,
Yeah,
there you have a great deal of comfort with them just because at least you know who they are.
yeah, who they
Yeah.
are.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned a moment ago that what happened, the two brothers that are because of the politics, because of their views, how they separate. And I really do want to talk about that idea because I've seen more of that right now, not just brothers, but friends, other family members, relationships. It's crazy right now how people have taken a stand that is dividing and removing that connection. All right. How, if we're all connected, which I know you always say we are, why would we want to hurt other people? Why would we want to hurt ourselves? Why don't we realize that separating from my brother because this candidate won is just ridiculous? It's just that we should never let something in life separate and end relationships.
Basically, we are in the human form, in the human body mode. We are going to be insecure because human body constantly knows that it is going to eventually die. Eventually, we are full of fear, greed, and all those things. So insecurity, to get more secure, we hold on to certain things which gives us security. You hold on to a job which you hate, somehow it gives you insecurity. You hold on to a marriage relationship, although you hate each other. And
Right.
similarly, although you don't like the candidate, but you support him because that gives you security somehow. Because the other candidates, basically, you're brainwashed by either media or information or your these kind of things. So as a consequence, you position yourself with wrong information or incomplete information, which is only feeding your insecurity to make the wrong decision.
So I know it all comes back to that fear, evil, fear and greed and envy. And I get that. But I don't, and we are allowing some people to join us. We're happy to have so many people coming in on Zoom for us. I guess I don't understand at two different levels, is what I'm trying to say here. One level is relationships are special to us. We've just talked about that. People that we know, we feel comfortable with them, even if they're not good friends. But amidst a whole room of strangers, if there's one person that we've known before, we're comfortable with them. Okay, so you have that level, and it gets deeper and deeper the closer it is. So by the time it comes to a family member, somebody you've been with for your whole life, somebody you grew up with, somebody that has exactly the same matching values as you do because they were raised in the same household. That's the maximum kind of you think of a perfect connection. And then there is this oneness thing that says we're all connected too. So even if I don't have a relationship with somebody, I still, on a spiritual level, understand that we're all connected. We're all human beings. If nothing else, we're all members of the human race. Okay.
One is to understand oneness. We have to, what is oneness? So every human being is made by nature a unique masterpiece. Our fingerprints are different. Our blood is different. Our body structure is different. More uh, certain things are allergic to me than you, and so on and so forth. So each one is different,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So we what is one? We are different. But as I say in our show, this human body is going to be different. But this human body has to have life in it. So the life is imparted to us by one single energy or universal force or God or whatever you call, which is placed in this human body, it becomes alive. So all of us have exactly the same power present within us, which is making us alive. And that is oneness. So until that portion of us, the enlivening force in us, runs off brain or computer, we don't see oneness in this one environment. So if this brain is run by this human insecure, fear-driven, greed-driven, ego-driven human body, we are going to only gravitate towards things which we believe is going to benefit us. In true reality, it may not, but we have this brain which we can only have so much information. It is known that more we know, the less we know.
Right.
And people, most of us fall in the category of very little knowledge. So less we know, we think more we know.
Yeah. Right.
So all our differences are because of less we know, and I know better than you are. And because it satisfies my ego, because I know more than you do, and in our discussion, or I can, in this battle of ego, fear, and greed, this whole world of people are divided. They're enemies.
Right. That's why when we know families are being driven apart like they are right now, it proves that it can even pierce those kind of connections, those
Yes.
kind of relationships, which are so valuable, which are so powerful and so strong, and even those are being pierced.
Yes.
And so I guess I talk about two levels. I talk about those connections that we have in life at the human level, and then I talk with you, as you just so well explained, the oneness level. It would seem that that first thing, that first level of relationships is really not the true one.
Yes.
Because if a man and woman come together and they love each other and they get married and they say we're going to love each other till death do us part, and even beyond, we're going to love each other forever, and sometimes 6 months later they hate each other, they can't wait to file for divorce because they found out something or other about each other that ends it all. And again, brothers that are driven apart because of a stupid election, that really doesn't impact their brotherhood, but suddenly it does. If those relationships are so vulnerable and so volatile, it seems like as much as we value them, we shouldn't be valuing them because they're not real. There's
Yeah. In this equation, the question comes out that it is important for me to keep this body, human body, performing at its optimum level.
Mhm.
So I have to eat, I have to protect it, human body, I have to stay away from cold or hot. I have to have enough water, and I have to have all these things. So it is important to realize the needs of this human body. And that can only be felt when we are operating in the human body mode,
Right.
right?
Sure.
So it is important to exist simultaneously in the human body mode as well as the spiritual mode of oneness. So when you are deciding, when you are having a relationship with others, do not have the human body mode dominate. At that moment, it is the oneness mode which is going to enhance and nurture all our relationships because that is unbiased and neutral. You are going to see a stranger first as a divine force present in them.
When we come back, I want to talk more about that. I want to talk about how we can kind of turn off and turn on, where we have to pay attention to our human mode and where we should be utilizing the fact that we are a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yes.
It seems like there's a lot of wisdom in doing that. Obviously, you have to understand that we are a spiritual being first to be able to even think about that. But if we have accepted that, and hopefully our listeners have evolved with me to that point, how are we able to really know when we should be looking at it from a human mode or from a divine mode? So we're going to come back in that. We are on Stress Free Living. We're together today. We wherever you are listening and enjoying the show, hopefully on Zoom or also on the internet or on the radio signals. We know that you're by yourself, most likely, but you know what? We're connected with you here today as well. We'll be right back on this edition of Stress Free Living. Stay with us. Okay, we have a short pause here, and we know this is a little bit different, but feel free if you'd like to ask a question here or give us a comment.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Just like based on the information, what is creating a disconnection? Is it the flawed information? Is it the untruthful information which creates and intentionally creates disconnection? So, flawed information is the basic, these days is the basic problem, just like post-truth or something like that. So that is creating more problems rather than the information, the correct information. If everybody knows the correct information, then emotionally and otherwise we will be connected more. So can we stress more on the flawed information which we are getting? And the second part is all these networks which are being created, these are based only on information. As you have stated, the sports group, everything that is based on information. So I would like to put more stress on the information which is coming to us and making networks and breaking networks also. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't know if you're on a different computer today than normal, or if your microphone is not functioning perfectly, but we're able to pick up part of that, Doctor, but not all of it. And I apologize for that if that's possibly on our end, but we will do the best we can with that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have time for somebody. No, we don't. We're coming right back here. Coming back. Welcome back to Stress Free Living. Ray Samich with you and Ratanjit Sandhi. We are together here. We're always together, but today physically, we're also together for our show talking about connections and talking about the way that we connect to some people and not to others. How in reality, the great majority of people on this earth we never connect with. And how the sad point is that many times our connections, our human connections, don't last. somebody that is so special to us as we're going to school, a very best friend in high school or college, and then we separate at graduation and we never see them again. A former relationship, a former spouse. Why do some connections work and some don't? Why? How are we able to connect with certain people in our lifetime? And we've talked, Ratanjit, about the comfort level, and you've brought to my mind for the first time the understanding that most of the relationships that we have, most of the connections we have, give us comfort and take away some of the insecurity and some of the fear. And so it just sounds so it sounds wrong to say this, but most of the relationships that we have really are to our own benefit.
Yes.
So it isn't that we're giving back and that I'm glad to have a wife or a brother or a parent or whatever. It's that makes me feel good to have those connections in my life. And I guess that's not a bad thing, because it is a mutual relationship. People trust each other, they love each other, and that's all good, but it is very much from the human mode.
I say this often. You cannot have friends. You can only be a friend.
Yeah.
Now, this thing is when you do something for a stranger, something good, you become a friend.
Right.
And when somebody does something for you, you consider him as a friend. So now in the human body mode, when we are insecure, when we are fearful, when we are what is in it for me mode and ego mode. So the direction is always towards me.
Right.
I'm looking for what can he do for me. When you are in the spiritual mode of oneness, the direction changes from me to others.
Mm-hmm.
So the true friendship only you can have in the oneness mode, because when you are doing things for others, regardless of what they are doing for you, they will consider you as a friend. You have more relationships. Your spouse, your children would love you. Your friends would love you. Strangers would love you, because you are always in a mode of how can you serve them? How can you? And that in the human body mode is only going to be driven by ego. Is my name going to be famous? If my resume is going to be enhanced, or am I going to get a benefit from this person? So hidden motive is always there when you do good things for others. It's only selfless when you are part in the oneness mode, right?
So if we're not aware, no, let me ask this differently. Can we be the person who everybody likes, who everybody appreciates, who everybody notices that we're always caring? Can we be doing that without an awareness that that is coming from a spiritual side? I mean, there's people that do that. We all know people who do that, who live in that mode of service. And I don't know if they're quote spiritual or not. Could we be doing that just from a human mode? Is it possible that there are human beings that are just genuinely service oriented, but but they don't realize that it's from a spiritual perspective? They just
Yes.
really are out there to help.
What happens is when you do things for others,
Mm-hmm.
Either it satisfies your ego or fear or greed or those things, or it satisfies your hunger of your soul.
Right.
Somebody in the first mode, when you are doing for others, if you don't get a recognition by others, you stop doing that.
Right. Right.
But in the other mode, you are not looking for recognition. You are looking for satisfying your need or hunger of your own soul, your inner power.
Right.
Somehow you got the feeling when you did this for this person, a strange satisfaction came to me. Once you become addicted to that satisfaction, you start doing things for others without a purpose,
Without an agenda.
without an agenda.
Right. Right. Yes. See, so that's an interesting state to be in. That, to me, that's kind of like hanging in there in the middle. You're still a human. You haven't understood all of the reality of spirituality, but you have found great comfort, great fulfillment in this mode. And I think that's where I tend to hang out a lot, without the total acceptance, without the total understanding of how great spirituality is. But I just feel genuinely good when I can help people. And I don't look for them to say thank you. That isn't necessary, but I really do want to satisfy them. I really do want to serve them.
You know what? There's a catch to that. When you are selflessly serving others, but others don't understand this and they keep on criticizing you, they keep on condemning you. So sooner or later, because you have not completely understood this human body mode and spiritual mode, your human body mode is going to be hurt.
True.
Your ego is going to be hurt. I'm doing this selflessly, and this guy is hurting me. So you will quit doing those good things.
Been there. I
Yeah.
understand. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
People read into that. They
Yeah.
they can't understand it's sincere and legitimate. So they question you and they do attack you, or they do think you've got an end game going on with that whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there is another thing. What you think is good is again based on your understanding, your knowledge, and your this thing.
Mm.
Maybe what you think you are doing good is hurting somebody, is basically undermining somebody, basically harming somebody. So a mother who loves her children feeds them wrong food because she doesn't have the knowledge of food. So it is important for us, in order to serve others, to accumulate enough knowledge and understanding and become a student which is constantly learning and elevate our capacity to do the right things. Otherwise, well meaning people do the wrong things. So there's this sticker I saw on the car. It says, God, please save me from your followers.
Mhm. Wow.
Because these followers don't understand the right things to do. And they are doing something in the name of God, which is harming somebody. So again, you have to understand that when you are born on this earth, your knowledge of things is very limited.
Sure.
And you have to become a student for life. You're constantly learning how to correct things, how to do things. So until you become a true student, not an expert, true student, you cannot enhance your capacity to do good.
That brings us to a point one of our Zoom guests brought up on the break, and that is the tremendous amount of incorrect information that's out there. And you mentioned a mother that is serving her children, and every day she cooks for them, I mean, which is wonderful, and she serves them meals and takes care of them. But if she is not aware because of the information that is out there so rampantly, and she's not aware of the contamination that's in the food that she's serving her kids.
Not only contamination, some after effect of wrong foods.
I mean, many aspects of it.
Yeah.
All the chemicals, all the additives, all of the preservatives, all of the dyes, everything that's in there, and you know, we want to kind of ignore it because it's so prevalent that it's almost hard. You know, I saw a comment the other day that says, isn't it crazy that in a grocery store there's a health food section? Okay. And I says, you know what? That really tells it all, doesn't it? Because all of it should be healthy in a store, but you have to have just a little section where it's healthy. So it's so prevalent, it's almost just easier to say, well, I'm just doing it. I'm just serving it. Okay. The amount of incorrect information that is dictating our lives today is so ridiculously prevalent that I guess you have to be more than a student. You have to also be able to have fortitude to look through it to find out what's the truth and try to find truth in it.
You know, basically, US is the richest nation on earth.
Yep.
Yes, yet the education is most expensive and healthcare is the most expensive. Two things which are essential for a human being to perform as a good citizen. You have to be healthy, you have to be educated, you have to have the right information. Both are very expensive.
Right.
People can't afford it. So we have a nation of basically illiterates.
I know.
Is there any wonder that we cannot get together?
No. And even if we do pay for the information and get it, how much of it is
Right.
truthful?
Again, it is driven by, our colleges or universities have enormous endowment funds, $40 billion, $50 billion.
Right.
Where, these institutions are there to teach us not to become rich.
Right.
It is a money-making proposition in all aspects of our culture.
Yeah. And there's if you're reading some of the things that are coming out now with like the FDA and those, a lot of those are more than half funded by outside agencies. They're not funded by the government.
Yes.
They're funded by the big pharmaceuticals and the food industry and those kind of people that are funding their operations. So you know how they're going, what the reports are going to say.
Yeah.
This
is the only country in the world where corruption is legal.
Right.
You can have a lobbyist who can bribe our politicians.
Yeah.
I cannot give direct bribe, but I can have a lobbyist.
Right. Yeah. Right. And the PACs, the PACs have emerged now.
This is all driven by our five senses. That is why we are where we are. If they were all driven by our power within us, oneness paradigm, we will be thinking and doing different things.
We need to take a second break here. I wanted to come back from the first break and talk about that idea of melding the spiritual and our human modes together. And we got off on some other interesting topics, but not that one. So when we come back this time, we are going to discuss that, how we can use the right amount of our human mode and our human abilities that are designed there to lead us, but have a very strong influence, if not the leadership necessary from our spiritual side. It's stress-free living. We'll be back in just a moment. All right. If we have a thought from somebody, you've got a couple minutes.
You hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, I had to change the microphone. I think that was the reason.
Yes, much better.
I think I was basically that the connections and the differences are created by the flawed information which is being passed to us. Whether it is, he has explained very nicely whether there's the objective of money or any other objective, politics or other thing. But that flawed information, when it is passed, it creates disconnection between the normal people, and it creates so much differences that they even come to a level of killing each other. So these type of people who are basically only for creating that flawed information and making it emotionally blackmailing or something like that, that part immediately disconnects the body and the oneness. So I think that was my basically we should discuss more on the post-truth information, the social media, what is going on at present, and that creates all these disconnections.
Very good. Thank you. We alluded to that in the last segment here, and I think there's a lot to be talked about with what you just said for sure. And I think we can dedicate maybe a future show to just how do you overcome all the misinformation that's out there? How do you separate the good from the bad? Because you're right, very, very prevalent. Thank you, Doctor. All right, we're coming back here in just a moment, and then we'll be back with everybody afterwards. Stay with us. We're back on Stress Free Living with Ratanjit Sandhi and yours truly, Ray Samich. Thank you so much for being with us. We're connected today, even beyond our normal connection after 30 years as being together in the same room. Ratanjit, it's so good to be with you. And earlier on in the show, we talked about how we are human beings. So we have our bodies, we have our minds, we have all of our experiences that mold us to who we are, which is it is how we operate. It is how we walk around. It is how we talk with people. It is how we communicate. It is how we connect through our human relationships. But you talked about kind of the ability to tap into our spiritual side when we need to. And maybe it's an evolution, because I guess when I say when we need to, we always should need to. But when we're in this growth process, how are we able to kind of turn it on? How are we able to tap into some of the abilities of our spiritual side when we need them, when we realize that what we're doing with our human abilities isn't enough?
You know, let's digress that for a minute.
Okay.
So, in this world, there are people who are very positive and the people who are very negative.
Right.
No matter what the situation is, they're going to find a fault,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So these are all habits. We are not run by the knowledge we have. We are run by our habits we keep. So understanding that thinking, we have to cultivate habits of living and thinking in oneness right from the beginning. Once that habit is formed, it automatically goes into that mode whenever we are making any decision or anything, we are performing any important thing. So now there is another paradigm which our science tells us that the human psyche is formed before the age of 7, 6. So when the child is growing up, we systematically park him in the human body mode.
Right.
We ask him, this is your name. You are separate from this guy. You have to watch yourself. You have to stand first in your class. You have to beat everybody. You have to win. You have to fight. When our leaders lecture, we have to fight for our freedom. We have to fight for this. This message which is given to the young growing child contaminates them for life. Is there any wonder that these grown-ups acting like small children with the wrong habits? So until our society realizes this and corrects this from the very beginning, the human race is doomed. Now, think of this. 50 years ago, we didn't have the technology to communicate, the computers and
Right.
cell phones or media and all that. So the information was going from one person to another to another. So it was very limited. It, our capacity to pollute was limited. So when these technologies, weapons, are given to the ill mind
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than the good mind, it is going to pollute the environment. It is going to pollute the whole human race. And that is what has happened.
We had a discussion amongst a few friends recently. Back in the days of, and some young people may not even know the names, but Walter Cronkite, Huntley Brinkley, there was only a half hour of a news show on every night.
Yeah.
And to make that half hour, a story had to be verified, double verified, triple verified for accuracy.
Yes.
Because there was only a short window. So what they were going to present was absolutely believed to be the truth.
Yes.
Okay. Today, there's 24/7 networks all over the place that are just saying things that are just
not verified.
They're not even right. They're not even verified. And then if they do find out that they're wrong and get proven wrong, they mention it, once or twice at the off hours when nobody even knows that they're even correcting it. And like in the newspaper, if they do that on the wrong headlines, it's buried on page 38 that it's been retracted. So that's just one example of it, but it's the truth for everything. I mean, and AI is going to make it more difficult, Ratanjit, because now you don't even know if this is really the person saying it. You've got their face saying words that they're not even saying.
Basically, the evil mind is given better tools.
It is, exactly. I mean, the evil is going to be able to, it's going to be so hard to tell people to tell what's the truth and what isn't, because you're going to have people you trust saying things now in front of you that they never even said, and it looks believable. So how do we, without even talking about how that's gotten so bad, but it's the truth, how are we supposed to know to tap into that spiritual side, which is the truth? I mean, the spiritual we know is the truth. It is unwavering. It's the rock. How do we form that habit that says, when I'm, instead of getting upset, instead of getting angry, instead of fighting back, I'm going to tap into what I should be doing on a spiritual basis? How do we make that habit?
Again, we have mentioned on the show many, many times, to form the habit of living in oneness is something which, we are blessed with this capacity of mind, a portion of our brain is called basal ganglia. And what that brain watches anything you do consistently at the same manner. So it spares the rest of the brain and makes into a habit. Habit is something which you do brainlessly.
Right.
So it becomes a habit. So once you know that gift given to us, we can do certain things consecutively at the same time, repeatedly, and eventually that itself is going to become a habit. So I requested our audience and share this exercise of getting in the morning and after having bath and all that, and looking into your eyes, looking in the mirror and seeing the reflection of this body, and then go through the drill of deciphering the amazing things this human body does. It creates its own blood, it does all these things. And suddenly you realize that this human body is gifted to me. And that will give you ultimate unconditional gratefulness. So once you have converted your mindset into gratefulness, and then close your eyes and look again in the mirror, and you find the enlivening force in these eyes, then you realize there is another thing which this human body is enlivened by, otherwise it won't function. It is a dead human body. All the organs and everything, nothing works until you have the life in it. So then you bow to that force. And you do this repeatedly. And I have a much higher detail of doing this exercise.
Right.
And once you do that, eventually it becomes a habit.
I love when you share that. It's so powerful to be able to do it, and I hope people are learning how to do that every day. It's phenomenal. What happens? What do you say in the last couple minutes when you're in a difficult situation? You're with the brother that you've been separated from because of a political campaign, and you're practicing that. You've formed that habit, but your brother hasn't. So your brother is not open to that idea. Or in a business relationship, when you're doing the right thing and you're doing it with the right basis, and you're trying to serve and you're trying to be the best, but the person on the other side of the table doesn't get it and they don't understand. How are we supposed to be able to, I mean, does it matter that the other side doesn't get it?
The animosity within two brothers only happens when both of them take a stand. It cannot happen if only one takes a stand. If you become understanding, example is we are two brothers.
Right.
We have totally opposite political views.
Right.
We are hard and we
Oh yeah.
love each other.
Right.
And I understand that this is the belief you have, the belief I have is totally based on the information I'm getting.
Right.
So one of us is probably, or both of us are not getting the right information. So it is not your fault. It is the fault of the information providing tools or information gathering tools. So once you understand, you don't hate each other. Understand that the information coming to you or to other person, to your brother, may be erroneous.
Right.
So that person is not bad or good. The information that person has is erroneous.
So you think as soon as one of the people step up to it, one person backs off, if you will, then that relationship is on a better path
Yes.
for healing.
Yes.
All right. Ratanjit, so wonderful to actually be sitting next to you and sharing this concept with you, this thoughts that we've had today. I thank you as always for what you give to others and the ideas that you're able to share with all of us to help us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed the show today. Hope that we've created a situation where we can have a little less stress in your life. Remember, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you.
All right. Hit the 10 o'clock mark right on the dot. And if we've lost a few people, maybe hopefully it was still clear. I hope that everybody was able to hear us today as you usually have. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share back with us?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the show, you guys talked about, there's comfort and then there's insecurity, right? And a lot of the I guess lack of connection that people experience is due to insecurity. So right now in my business, I have two employees who are really going at it between themselves. And I can see, like, this is very fresh of mine because it happened this week, but I can see clearly that it's due to insecurity in each of these two individuals, right? That they're coming with their own insecurities and then are kind of threatened by this other person. And it's going back and forth. Now, as a third party, how can I help them connect better? Or how do, like, I can see the insecurity in each of them, and that's what's causing, I find, this bickering and a lack of collaboration. But how, as a third party, can I help them, or do I need to help them see the insecurity? How can I help? Like, how do you help two people that are not of this mentality become a little more aware so that they can actually work together?
It's a good question. Basically, it depends on when you go to a bank and ask for a loan, depends on your credit worthiness, whether you have taken the loan and paid them back. So similarly with human beings, what we have is emotional deposits. So we have done things for them. So in order for you to become a change maker, you have to have very high emotional deposits with both of these people. So they cannot ignore you. They have to listen to you. They have high respect for you. Because of that respect, you will be able to make them sit and make them see how ridiculous they are when they are teaching each other that way. So that takes time. But in order for you to be a leader, you have to focus on, in addition to all these things you do, enhance your emotional deposits with the team members. So your effectiveness goes up.
So how do I do that? How do I increase my emotional credits? So do you mean like specifically with each member, or
Yeah.
just
Yes.
okay, and then so how would I do that?
With each of those two, if you are, people like to be praised. And so if you catch them doing good, okay, separate from each other, separate from the incidents of the two of them conflicting. If you can catch each of them and don't bring up in this the problem that they're having with the other person, but talk to them about other things that they're doing in their job, in their performance. Talk about other good areas where they are having successes and they're adding value and they're helping the company to do the right things. And maybe even on a personal side, if one of the people is especially shows kindness or shows creativity or hard work, dedication, they like to be acknowledged, and the fact that you are acknowledging that you're the one that is lifting them up, um, that all helps.
The in my life, the biggest example of a person who knows how to build emotional deposit is my wife Dolly. So other day we were shopping at the grocery store. This gentleman came and she said, "Oh, why it's like old brother,
Hmm.
and you did this and you did that." I said, "Who is this?" And this person was working for UPS.
Okay.
And every time he would come, and Dolly, he would know what time this guy is coming. He would have the coffee ready for him
Wow.
and the donut ready for him. And in the cold winter month, this guy
Really appreciated that.
appreciated that.
Yeah. Right.
And in our company, although I had the title, I was supposedly the CEO, but real CEO was my wife. And there was a saying in our customers, when they would talk to the other, say, if you want things done in Polycarp, there's a lady, her name is Dolly. Call her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all our employees, she would know each children, each spouse, how she's feeling, what their wardrobe is, what their things are. And she would, you know, we have some friends, some of our employees who have moved to India, and they still have the utensil Dolly have given them.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing how she has touched people.
Right.
That is what is emotional deposit.
And it has to be clear that it's done without an agenda.
Yeah.
If they see that you're just maneuvering, manipulating, then it doesn't work. But if you genuinely, and that's why I say catch them doing right, because you're not making things up. You're actually just noticing and commenting on things that were actually done properly. And everybody likes that. Everybody likes to be praised, and you're the one that does it legitimately. You know, you're not just making it up. You really did find good things about them. I would say that is important. The other thing is when you do get them together, I I wouldn't talk about the areas they disagree on. I would talk about the things that they have in common and talk about, if they both really do want to do good for the company because they believe in the mission, then I would accentuate that. The only reason the two of you are even here is because you believe in this cause. You believe in what we're trying to accomplish. And that's the most important thing, and you both have families and you both have, point out the things that they share that have similarities. And based on that solid foundation, you guys just need to figure out a way to work it out. Because there's a lot of similarities there and there's a lot of common ground. That's be my recommendation. It's not easy. It's not an easy situation, especially if neither one of them are of this mindset.
Yeah, I'll keep trying. I think it's I tried that like this last week, really individually, genuinely praising and giving them confidence in what each person is, skilled in their zone of genius, and how we need, both of them to really make this a success. And maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's trickier because everybody's remote and we're in different parts of the world. Or that like there's a lot of the things that they're both working on things that are extremely time sensitive. So they have to collaborate quickly to be able to release what we need to release. And I guess the stress is that they can't do it quickly. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I will keep just giving them emotional deposits and hope we get to a common ground. Thank you.
Sorry, we don't have the magic formula on that one. It sounds
No,
like you're
that's
doing the right
okay.
things. Just keep doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Ken, any comments today?
The only thing I can tell you is that you guys found a topic that was perfect for today during just before Thanksgiving. Could not have picked up a better topic, and seeing you together, at least on video, it just makes a huge difference. And I think that that's going to make at least your YouTube video pretty good.
All right. Well,
Hi, Sana. How are
thank
you?
you.
Hi, I'm good. So good to see the new podcast today. It
So
really,
we are missing you guys. Should be here.
I wish I was there, but really enjoying the energy. I'm sure the energy must be all around Sahil today. And most importantly, I loved couple of messages from today's program. That we have to nurture and nourish people who believe in us, who are working for the organization. So a true leader has to ensure that the leadership is passed on to the others, believe in them, and nourish them with all their compassion and true love. So that definitely comes back in the system. And the message on the truck, which you said, that beware of the followers, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Like,
Were you able to contact Navjot to send?
Yes,
Was
I
he
did.
able
I did send him the message. Unfortunately, today he was in a recording session. So he
okay.
had a podcast lined up, but he has promised me that he'll touch base very soon.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice guy.
Yes. Thank you.
thank you.